Well, the right people are melting down right now, and I have officially been branded as a traitor to Canada for daring to suggest that we should possibly take up President Donald Trump on his very kind offer to make Canada the 51st state and join the project of freedom and prosperity here in the West to fight the globalist surge, to have a military that can actually defend our borders against the threats of China, Russia, and friends, and to ease the economic tensions that have been created by both sides of our political establishment here in Canada for a long time now. And apparently I'm the traitor for realizing when our country has completely been captured and taken over. I'm the traitor when the man in power right now, who is just a puppet for people that have zero allegiance to Canada, I'm the traitor when under his administration, he has literally been dismantling the old Canada that everybody's suddenly feeling a rush of nostalgia about. Trudeau came in with a mandate on behalf of his owners to slowly dismantle Canada, to turn it into the world's first post-national state run on a basic dictatorship similar to China. And Trudeau has accomplished exactly that. I don't see enough pushback from the Conservatives on so many important issues, and I do not have the confidence that they will be able to cause the tremendous epic level changes that Canada needs, that we actually do see President Donald Trump carrying out right now as I'm talking to you when it comes to America, and actually being the only person in the world to fight back on a political level against these extremely insidious forces that have been embedding themselves and penetrating the cabinets for decades. So I'm not the traitor when I did everything I could, born and raised in this country, to fight for Canada. I watched what happened when the Canadian truckers were dismantled with the world's most epic peaceful protest of all time that actually did end up rewinding the mandates. Although I gotta say my heart was broken, not just to see the way the tyrannical government acted towards those truckers, who were the best thing we've ever had to fight back against the political establishment here, by the way. I don't really see signing a bunch of petitions and continually voting in the same scumbags as being a solution here, okay? What we learned and what was exposed, if you had the brains to see it, was that our Charter of Rights doesn't mean jack shit, and the government can change it and reword it and weasel in a bunch of bills and laws while nobody pays attention and slowly erode our country. And I don't see enough of a pushback from the average Canadians out there to do anything about it. And I don't see any spine or a real effort by our political class to actually turn this around in a timely manner, which it needs to be done. So here's the situation. Canadians, you got to drop the nostalgia and realize your country was stolen from you by these criminals that are also trying to steal other countries from their citizenry to establish a one world government system. And the people that are pretending to be Canadians and fighting back are puppets of these people. And it is they who are the traitors. And speaking of traitors, you want to call me a traitor for saying, yeah, I think we're going to get a better deal under, I don't know, the American Constitution, with a leader like President Trump, who's got a long lineage of people behind him to follow and has galvanized his entire nation to actually fight back against these people, and is literally leading the charge, not just in America, but for the entire West against this, to actually tell China to sit down and listen and do what they're told for once. Our government isn't doing that. Our government is welcoming them in. So speaking of traitors, I raised the issue to President Trump in a tweet, which he'll probably never see, but God bless him either way, that it has come to our attention as a country And if you're hearing this for the first time, listen the fuck up. Okay, this is really important. Our own intelligence services have discovered that there are traitors and foreign assets embedded in Canadian Parliament and in our government. I think the report is even understating the level of the threat that we face. But the fact that we've got what we've got is enough to know that, hey, if this was the case, they would just come out and tell us who these people are, and then we could route them out and make Canada great again. But it's just not that easy, is it? Because they're not giving us the access to that list. It's basically classified alongside the Diddy and the Epstein lists and all the other lists. And I don't see any moves from either side of the aisle to try to actually get this information to the Canadian people so that they can understand who's on Canada's side and who isn't. And right now, guys, I'm sorry to tell you, but the current American president is more on Canada's side than anybody in our government. The only one you could maybe go, oh, maybe he really thinks the same way as a Trump is Maxime Bernier. But I think he's failed on many levels as it comes to being a leader. I'm going to be honest with you. And he's not going to win the Prime Minister's office anytime soon. That campaign is 50 years out. And we don't have 50 years. China owns most of our land along with Bill Gates. We don't own our own land, guys. Even before all that shit came in, we were basically a state already. We were a vassal state of the Crown Corporation of England. Go see who your MPs and your RCMP officers and all of your government officials swear an allegiance to. They don't swear an allegiance to Canada and to the Canadian people. They swear an allegiance to the Crown. And look what King Charles and gang are involved with. And listen to Klaus Schwab, who's one of King Charles's best buds. They both started the World Economic Forum together, just so you know. And they're from the royal family that was in bed with a bunch of pedos and perverts. Prince Andrew. What's his name? I forget his name right now. But you know what I'm talking about. Our resources have been sold. Our country's been flooded with mass immigration to the point where our demographics have completely changed in less than 10 years. It's unrecognizable. Crime is up. The price of everything is astronomical. I'm an entrepreneur in this country, which means I actually get up and work and create things of value. And if I suck, I don't get paid. But if I'm awesome, I get paid. I've done an awesome job. Me and my team, my family, my wife. We've built amazing businesses, small-time businesses, just enough to sustain our lives and benefit our communities. And I got to pay 60 to 70% of that hard-earned money to the government, who does what with it? Gives it to other countries. Puts it into a bunch of programs that don't end up benefiting me at all. At all. Our politicians are scared shitless to speak their minds openly. So, like, China controls our ports. Whose methodology did we adopt? Whose policies did we adopt during the pandemic? Was it the Canadian Pandemic Preparedness Response, written by Canadian doctors? Or was it China's model that was adopted by the World Health Organization, which President Donald Trump just wisely got America out of, because he realized that that is an absolute scam. It's a pyramid scheme scam. The Paris Climate Accords is going to save America billions, if not trillions of dollars. And it's all a bunch of bollocks anyways. Pierre Poilievre is not even mentioning the Paris Climate Agreement. So maybe we'll get a little bit of a trim on some of the taxes and maybe get little tiny improvements here and there getting the Conservatives in. And even if Pierre on his best day has the golden heart and is going to try to do his best, he's surrounded by swamp creatures as well in his own party. And he'll have to take them on. And I just don't see him being someone like Trump who's going to have the cojones to do what is needed to be done in this country. Canada's even more infected than the US. That's how much work we have to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I would definitely be down for it if I saw a pulse of intelligence in the average Canadian these days when it comes to politics and specifically geopolitics, and how Canada plays into what's going on. And you know what's really interesting? Everybody's saying, oh, it's been a North American Union is going to make the New World Order. Yeah, it's going to be based on a constitution and a Bill of Rights. The North American Union that was tied to the UN that you heard about in like the early 2000s, that wasn't the same plan, bro. That was run under the globalist banner. That's not the same thing as partnering against the globalists with other countries and adopting constitutional values and free market policies and free speech and all those things. That there were the pillars that founded Western civilization as a whole and slowly got eaten away with by these infiltrations that have taken over all of our countries over a long period of time and got us into gargantuan amounts of debt that we can't pay off. So we're in debt massively. We've got a circus of a parliament that's currently closed right now and not even dealing with this at all. Most of the old school Canadian patriots who love and bled red and white and loved Canada, they've moved to either the States or Mexico, coincidentally enough. So you want to leave me? You think I'm going to sit here with what's left over and we're going to somehow mount a good, viable resistance that's actually going to make some good change in this country at this point? It's not in our DNA to fight back against the government here. It is in the United States. Because people go, well, what if Kamala just gets in 4 years from now? Well, then at least we'll fight back against that with people that actually fight back. I'm sorry to say it. So spare me the, oh, traitor, just go move to the U.S. Why would I move to the U.S. when the U.S. is going to move to me? Why would I sit here and protect a corrupt cesspool that is so bankrupt and beyond saving? You're insane to sit there and continue business as usual and watch our country turn into the UK. That's the first bus stop. We're going to turn into what the UK is now. And then the next bus stop is Venezuela. That's how this goes to people that understand history and how these things work. And the people we're dealing with, how their ideology works, and what they're going to try to continually do. And I just don't know if we're up for the fight all by ourselves. So what I'm looking for is we need a strong ally in this fight. And what better ally than the people that wrote the book, literally, on freedom. And yeah, America's had its struggle and it got captured by deep state just like we did, but it's got a better chance of fighting back and winning this fight, and it's already started. So I'm excited about that, and I want to be a part of that. And I want to see that happen for Mexico. I want to see the liberation of humanity just go like dominoes. Boom, boom, boom. Let's kick all these bad actors, these corrupt politicians, these big mega central banks, these globalist institutions that are useless and nefarious and anti-human. And I'm done sitting. We don't have any time. That's the other issue. The clock is ticking. It's going to get worse before it gets better unless something changes. So I'm not the traitor. The government betrayed me and they betrayed you. And they've been doing it for decades. And we're at a point where we're beyond repair with that particular model. That business model of the old Canada has failed. I don't want to be the one telling you this, but that's just the fact. China runs this country. The globalists run this country. The WEF runs this country. The UN runs this country. Unelected people run this country. Speaking of which, you're about to have Mark Carney installed as Liberal leader, and he's going to just become the prime minister. He wasn't voted in. He's never served public office. The guy doesn't even live in Canada. He's a European. He's a Davos shark. It's a gong show. Now, Pierre could come in and wipe the floor and bring him in. And yeah, I'll take that. That's great. But Pierre's only going to he's going to plug a couple holes on the ship. We got like big, massive holes blown in with cannonballs that he's just not even going to look at. And time is ticking. So that's why I'm looking at all the options. I'm not just saying this just because I'm a fan of Trump and I like his... You're retarded if you think that. I'm looking at the whole situation and calculating all the facts. I do this every day. I do this for a living. I research this shit. I don't just scroll Facebook and read headlines. I know where we're at financially. I know where our military is at, which is a very sad state of affairs. Those people have been treated horribly. I've seen how our veterans are treated. I've seen how our doctors and nurses that were brave enough to actually stand for real science and question what the government says. I see how the government treats them. I see how people that went to protest peacefully against the government are still rotting in jail. I see that we've got traitors in our midst and they're not telling us who they are, because I bet you all the money I've got left after I've been fleeced by the government this much, that the people that are named on that list are going to surprise a lot of Canadians, but not me. And just wait until the bigger stuff starts to become public. Children, need I say more? Just wait till that shit comes out and who's involved with that. We harbor terrorists. We brought people in that are fighting the wars they were fighting in their countries. They're just fighting them in a Walmart parking lot in Canada now. And nobody's really doing anything about it. So I see the signs. I know when a company is bankrupt. I know when you go, all right, it's time to fold that shit and do another rebrand. So either Canada does a rebrand, reforms its constitution, completely guts and cleans out the corruption everywhere, and starts from scratch and builds a military that could actually defend us against any of these foreign threats in like an epic amount of time. Like, it's going to be light speed. You're going to have to build up this amazing military that can actually defend us. Because a lot of Canadians forget Trump's argument. You can't refute that argument. He's subsidizing Canada. We're paying America to defend our borders already. And guess what? Here's the crazy thing. It's you as a state. If we were a state, if each province was a state, you would have way more power as a state under the United States system, even as broken as that system has become, which is getting improved very quickly by the day, by the way. You have way more power as a state under the Constitution than a province does under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's not worth the paper it's printed on, because clearly it didn't do anything to actually protect our rights and freedoms. Our country was sold out a long time ago, guys. It's 1974. We got brought under the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, and we were sitting at the big boys table. That's why all of our politicians go to Bilderberg and do what they're told. That's why all the guys coming in are like former bank heads and like, even though they're flying the commie bullshit, that's all lies so that the lowbrow people go, oh, that sounds great. I'm going to vote for that guy. So if you want to keep paying these prices, if you want to keep dealing with these fools in Ottawa, if you want to keep watching your resources get sold down the river and every average Canadian is forced to live as if we're in some kind of third world country with crime running the roost everywhere, all of our police and military are defunded. You can't even respond if they wanted to. Our healthcare. Oh, you got free healthcare. Nothing's free. They tax the shit out of you. They put it into a little bit of healthcare, and that healthcare sucks balls. Go wait for 14 hours when you are like literally on fire for someone to see you, okay? And tell me about your free healthcare. Nothing is free. So, I'm not the traitor. Canada betrayed me first, and they betrayed you as well. So we got a lot of things to think about. And what I'm looking for is what's the best solution to secure freedom and prosperity for my children. That is all I care about. And if staying with this swamp of a disaster circus called Ottawa is the option versus switching to something that will actually give us some hope, you know where I'm going with this. I'll let you decide for yourself.